Hello and welcome back. Boy, I know it's been like forever since I posted anything, but I thought you guys would find this one a little bit interesting. I am doing an overshot double weave blanket. So the pattern itself is overshot and the blanket is doubled. So I have the bottom and a top. And so I just wanted to show you how that works on my loom here. I've got it, these are my DIY stretchers. I just did some, let me show you this here. This is just a 2-pound weight and a ankle band that I did up, and I've just attached the ankle band to these, what do you call these things? Suspender clips, I guess is what they're called. But these ones are really nice. They're pretty small. They have like this little soft little plastic here in the middle with the teeth on it, so they don't ruin your work by digging in or making snags, which I really like. And so yeah, I just clip that to the edge here like that. And then I have a string, you can see it on this side here. I have this string that goes from the front beam to this center, or this upright post here, and that just keeps it from dragging the weights down because we want them to go out. So just put that in there like that, and you see how nicely that stretches that out. And that's really important, especially on the folded edge, because if you have too much draw in on the folded edge, while you when you take it off the loom, it's really going to show, and it's going to look really wonky in the middle. I am using 2 different yarns here today. I'm using, where did I put my label? This. I am using Universal Yarn. It's called Universal Yarn Major. It is a super bulky, or not super bulky, it's just regular bulky yarn. And then I'm also using, this is sort of a mystery yarn. I bought this so many years ago and I didn't save the label, but I know it's acrylic and it washes up super nice. I've used, this is actually previously used yarn. I'm recycling it. It was a blanket that I did in a brioche knit, and it got snagged, and by the time it got back to me from my sister who I'd given it to, there was no fixing the snag, and so I just totally unraveled the whole thing, and now we're doing this beautiful double knit, or double wide overshot blanket, which is going to just be absolutely gorgeous, and hopefully it will survive a little bit better with between her 3 kids, 2 of which are very rambunctious boys, but I love them, don't get me wrong, and their dog. So anyway, back to the double knit. So the pattern I'm using is a little bit of a modified pattern. So I forget the name of it now off the top of my head, but it's like these little squares. It's hard to see where we're at on the pattern right now, but there's these little squares, and then they do the opposite thing in the next repeat. And I don't have my knitting or my weaving program out, so I am just using this sheet of paper, and I have each treadle on here, and then when I'm done I just cross out which section I'm on. A bit like reading music, actually. It works really well, and I just did that in an Excel spreadsheet. I just made the lines and then put in all the numbers on the X. That's why this one's, because I messed up right here. Oh, you can't see that. And see, I messed up, but I just fixed it with a Sharpie marker. So I'm on, right here, I'm gonna be doing treadle 4, which is what I've got my foot down on right now. And this is gonna be a pattern row, which means I'll be using the bulky yarn. So the one thing I do have to, because I didn't do floating salvages on this because it would have been too hard, because both salvages are on the same side over here. Let me see if I can get you a better view of that. There we go. So both salvages are on the same side here. So I didn't do floating salvages. So in order to make sure that I have the bulky yarn going where it's supposed to go, i.e. around, under or over the appropriate edge yarn, I take my finger and I just stick it between the two layers and I lift up the top layer, and I can see that my bulky yarn here is over the top of my very last edge yarn, my very salvage edge yarn. And so I'm going to need to go under this, and because this yarn is on the bottom of this particular shaft, I will have to place my shuttle. And this is a rag shuttle, by the way, but I'll tell you what, this is like awesome for bulky yarn if you are weaving bulky yarn. This one is from Harrisville Designs. This is the Harrisville one. It did break the first time I used it, but I just stuck some screws in and I have not had a problem with it since. So, because they just use these cheesy little staples, which is kind of silly. But anyway, so I fixed it, so it's no problem. Fortunately, I'm very handy with the drill gun. So anyway, so I'm gonna go under here and I'm gonna lift this edge thread up before I place the shuttle through the shaft. Pull that through. And I'm being super, super careful about my edges, but what I do is I pinch the edge and I just give this a little bit of tug, and that just gives it a really nice bend in the yarn. And then I let it go, and I don't keep it tight while I'm beading, because that just creates a whole nother problem with like drawing and stuff like that. So then once I've pinched and tugged, get the nice edge, then I lower the shaft and beat. Okay, so that's the top row. Now we're gonna do the bottom row, and on my pattern that is going to be treadle 8. So I've done all of the top shafts are 1, 2, 3, and treadles 1, 2, 3, and 4, and all of the bottom shafts are treadles 5, 6, 7, and 8. I just find that this is easier in my head to organize things that way. Some people might choose to do like a walking treadle kind of thing, and I just could not wrap my head around that, so I went with first 4 and the second 4. So I'm going to lift up treadle 8, and that is lifting up all of the top ones, so treadles 1 through 4, and then just treadle 8, right? No, 7 and 8. 7 and 8 are both down. Okay, so that gives me my pattern. And I'm just gonna drag that through here, pull through, and then on this edge, this is the folded edge, I'm gonna stick my finger in here and I'm gonna feel between the two layers. And this is, and then once I've gotten between both of the layers, I kind of leave my finger in here while I do the tug bit, and this gives it a really super nice, perfect tension for the folded edge. And again, because you don't want the drawing on the folded edge at all if you can avoid it, because that's gonna make it look funky once you've unfolded it. Now I've done another blanket like this that was double folded, and it did look a little funky the first when I first took it off, but I was able to sort of stretch it out, and I washed it a couple of times, and now you can't even see the fold. So this trick works really well. Just stick your finger in there, give it a little bit of a tug, make sure that it's a little bit loose, and then beat. Okay, so that's the pattern row. Next row is going to be our plain weave row, and these I have on unmarked treadles, but they are basically treadles 9 -1 and -2, and then treadles 9 and 10 on the other end. So for the top, I have done, so treadle -1, you can see is the top layer for plain weave, and then -2 is the other side of that plain weave. So and I've done it so that -1 and treadle 9 are the back and forth. So I'm going to do this one. This is -1, and that's the top layer for the plain weave. And then the bottom one, which is going to be treadle 9, is that same, I don't know how to describe it. It's the same plain weave row, but on the bottom instead of on the top. So let's switch that through. And again, stick my finger in, give a little bit of a tug, make sure it's loose but not hanging out, and beat. Okay, that took me a long time to explain that, but hopefully you guys understood what I was saying. I hope so. All right, so now for this row of the pattern, or this section of the pattern, I'm gonna go backwards, exactly what I just did. So I'm gonna start with treadle 8, and that's gonna pull up the bottom. And again, I'm gonna check where my edge thread is, my salvage thread. And again, it's over the top, so I'm gonna lift this bottom one so that my shuttle goes underneath it. Pull it through, and whoop, I got myself all tangled up there. And one really, really important thing to make sure when you are doing a double fold blanket like this, or double fold anything really. My next project is a double fold tablecloth, but so it's going to be similar, it's just going to be with tinier thread, is that you want to make sure that your yarns are not accidentally, like you don't want this side to be full, you know, connected at all. So it's a good idea to always check where both yarns are. Okay, so that, do my pinch, do my tug, and beat. And then treadle 4. And bring that through. The nice thing is on this side, you don't ever have to worry about which is up and which is down because it's the folded side. So in theory, it should be correct and you don't have to worry about it. And look at that. All right, now we're back to our plain weave row. And these are going to be both the outside treadles. So this is going to be treadle 10 to get the bottom row, the bottom side, and treadle 2, -2 for the top. All right, and do my finger trick. There we go. That is 2 full rows. And that is how you do double folded blanket overshot. See you next time.